I ignored my parents until they were gone. I didn't hate my parents. That's the part that hurts the most. I didn't shout at them. I didn't cut them off. I didn't walk out in anger. I simply ignored them. And somehow that quiet neglect did more damage than anger ever could. When I was young, my parents were my entire world. My father's voice was the first thing I listened for every morning. My mother's hands were the safest place I knew. Back then, time felt endless. Days were long, nights were peaceful, and love was automatic, like breathing. I never imagined a future where they would be gone. I never imagined a future where I would wish for one more call, one more lecture, one more ordinary day. Because when you're young, you don't think in endings. You think in tomorrows. As I grew older, life began to get louder. School, friends, dreams, ambitions. I wanted more success, more freedom, more recognition. I wanted to prove myself to the world. And somewhere in that rush, my parents slowly became background noise. They were always there, so I assumed they always would be. My mother would call me just to ask if I'd eaten. At first I answered patiently, then briefly, then not at all. I'm busy, I told myself. I'll call her later. But later kept moving. My father loved giving advice. Not because he thought I was incapable, but because that was his way of loving. He'd tell me to save money, to sleep early, to take care of my health. I used to roll my eyes. I know, Dad, I'd say, irritated. I'm not a child. I didn't realize those words were slowly building a wall between us. The truth is, I wasn't too busy for my parents. I was too busy for their importance. I had time for social media, time for scrolling, time for people who would disappear from my life without a second thought. But when my parents wanted a few minutes, it felt like an inconvenience. And that realization still makes my chest heavy. Years passed. I moved forward. They stayed behind. Their voices grew softer, their steps slower, their world smaller. But mine kept expanding. I missed birthdays. I missed dinners. I missed ordinary moments that don't seem special until they're gone forever. I told myself I was building a future, but I was quietly destroying my past. Then one day, my mother stopped calling. At first, I felt relieved. No more interruptions, I thought. That thought still haunts me. A few weeks later, I finally called her. She sounded weak, tired, older. I didn't want to bother you, she said gently. Those words cut deeper than any argument ever could, because love should never feel like a burden. I promised myself I'd visit soon. Soon became next month. Next month became next year. And then there was no more time. The call came on an ordinary day. No dramatic music, no warning, just a sentence that split my life into before and after. Your mother is gone. The world didn't stop. Cars still move, people still laughed. But something inside me collapsed. At the funeral, I stood there feeling like a stranger. People shared stories about her kindness, her sacrifices, her love, and all I could think was, when was the last time I really listened to her? I couldn't remember. My father stood silently beside me. He looked smaller than I remembered, older, broken. I wanted to hug him, but I didn't know how. Because we had practiced distance for so long, closeness felt unfamiliar. After my mother was gone, my father tried harder. He called more often, asked more questions. And instead of learning my lesson, I grew more impatient. I thought I had time. I was wrong. Grief ages people faster than years ever could. My father's health declined quickly. The man who once carried me on his shoulders now struggled to stand. I noticed, but I didn't act. I thought success would make them proud someday. What I didn't realize was that they were already proud just to hear my voice. The last conversation I had with my father was short, too short. He asked, "When will you visit?" I said, "Soon." He said, "Okay." That was it. No advice, no lecture, no goodbye. Soon never came. When my father passed away, the regret wasn't loud. It was quiet. It settled into my bones. It whispered at night. It showed up in silence. I inherited his old phone. Out of curiosity, I opened it. My number was the most dialed, call after call, unanswered. That image broke me more than his death. You see, regret isn't just sadness. It's knowing you could have done better, and didn't. I would give anything now to hear my mother ask if I'd eaten. I would sit for hours listening to my father repeat the same advice. I would gladly trade all my busy days for one boring afternoon with them. But life doesn't offer refunds, only lessons. Parents don't want your money. They don't want your success. They don't want your achievements. They want you, your voice, your presence, your time, and time is the one thing you can never give back once it's gone. If you're listening to this and your parents are still alive, pause, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Call them, visit them, listen, even if they repeat the same stories. Because one day, you'd give anything to hear those stories again. Don't wait until the house is silent. Don't wait until the phone stops ringing. Don't wait until regret becomes your teacher. Love them now, before it's too late.